Now let's go analyze the S&P 500 price action and see what it did and what to expect for the coming week. On the screen is the daily chart of the S&P 500. Remember, one of the price action that we talked about in the prior video was to look for this pullback and come back in and fill these two gap here and possibly come down to the 3428 area and find support. Then it bounces back and make it this way toward the all-time high. What the S&P 500 did last week was it gapped up on Monday and then pulled back on Tuesday and Wednesday and came back in to fill the Monday's gap. Then on Thursday, it opened down, and on its way back up, it filled this gap here near the 3447. Then on Friday, it gapped up again and found seller when it got up to above the 3500, and it closed just a tab above the Thursday close and essentially put in a inverted hammer or a shooting star and close near the low of the day. So for the coming week, we will still continue to watch for a pullback to come in and fill this gap here near the 3428 and see would it be able to find support and get a bounce back up and work its way back toward the all-time high near the 3588. If it could not find support at the 3428 level, then we will watch for a possibility of make its way down to fill the gap at the 3306 area before it finds support and possibly bounce back up. So those are the scenarios that we will keep an eye on for the coming week. Now, there is a possibility that it could come all the way down to this 3200 level. And if it breaks the 3200 level, then we essentially will be looking for a trend reversal. But until then, we are pretty much still in a uptrend. Let's take a look at the SPY, the ETF for the S&P 500, and see what are some of the price levels to keep an eye on for the coming week for those that are trading the SPY. Here I have a 240-minute chart here, and I have a composite profile for the price range from the March low to the Friday's close. And let me zoom this in and we could take a closer look at the price action and also some of the price zone to keep an eye on for the coming week. And here you see that we got this big push on Monday and then pulled back on Thursday. Then it got a reversal. Then on Friday, it kind of closed near the low. At the last half an hour of the trading session, we saw a little bit of a sell-off. It could be due to option expiration, so there could be some trickery there. But right now we still have to pay attention to that little bit of a sell-off on Friday close to the Friday close. So here's what we're going to be keeping an eye on for the coming week is for it to come down here in this high volume area. What I did is I mark off the high volume zone with a shade of light blue. So if it could chop around here and find some support and then pushes back up, then we're basically looking for it to make its way back toward the all-time high around 358.75. Now, if it comes down and could not hold support, instead it make its way down, then we basically looking for this zone down here, and fill this gap between the 331 and 329. Before we look for a possible support bounce and make its way back up. So that's what we're going to be paying attention to on the SPY for the coming week. Now let's go and take a look at the other market indexes. Here on the NASDAQ 100, we see that the price action also came up on Monday and then pulled back, just like the S&P 500, and also got a little bit of a sell-off on Friday. So right now, we're essentially looking for it to continue to pull back to this 11,727 and see would it be able to fill this gap and find support and get a bounce back up. And if it could not find support down here at the 11,727, then we watch for the continuation of the pullback down to the 11,576 area and possibly fill in this gap here to see what we see some support and see a bounce back up. Then in the worst case scenario is for this thing to come all the way down to the 11,177 and fill this gap here before we start looking for a next potential support level to see would it be able to get a bounce off of that. For the Dow Jones Industrial, we see that it printed a little bit of a graveyard doji or inverted hammer here. So for the coming week, we see what the pullback and fill in this low gap and then get a little bit of a bounce back up toward the this pivot high here, 29,199, and then make its way up toward the new all-time high up at 29,568. If it is continue to pull back, then we're essentially looking for this thing to possibly pull down to the 27,239 and fill this gap to see would it be able to find support down at that level. Otherwise, we essentially are looking for it to continue to move back down to the 26,525 area and fill in this particular gap way back in August. And the Dow Jones Transportation continued to hover at the new all-time high, although it did close down on Friday. So for the coming week, the support level that we basically looking for the transportation to find support near the 11,623 if it continue to pull back. So it's near this trend line here, the supporting trend line. If it breaks the trend line, then we're essentially looking for this 10,960 as the next potential support there. And finally, the Russell 2000 came back in and came down to this 1,610 level and found support right underneath it and got a nice bounce on Thursday. Remember, that was one of the support level that we're basically watching for, on a potential pullback. So right now, we're going to see will it continue to push up toward the 1,698 and possibly, take out this pivot high here, then make its way up toward the all-time high near the 1,742. But if it decides to pull back, then we're essentially looking for the possibility of 1,572 for the next potential support level and see if we get a bounce here. So that's the price level that we'll be keeping an eye on for the Russell 2000 in the coming week. So in summary, even if we continue to see a pullback from the S&P 500 and the market next week, the price actions still indicate they are in an uptrend. Until we see the deterioration of the internal and the changing of the sentiment, we will continue to monitor for potential new all-time high, especially from the Dow Jones Industrial. Don't forget to smash that thumbs up icon for me and help me promote this video on YouTube. Thank you for watching and stay safe.